Hello and welcome to the Young Tongues podcast. My name is Barbara Fountain and I am the founder and CEO of the Young Tongues, a peer-to-peer support group for young tongue cancer patients from around the globe. And with me is my fabulous co-host, Jamie. Welcome back. How are you this week?
Hello. Thank you for having me always. I am doing fantastic this week because it's Monday, the start of the week. So it's always fantastic. Just summertime and having lots of pool time out here in California. So I can't really complain. How
Well,
about you?
when we came on, I was commenting about how fabulous your hair looks and how glamorous you just look. You just don't have to try, do you? Just
Stop. Stop. No, no. Nope. This is just from being in the pool and I just sleep with my hair wet. So we're just going to go with it.
best way to do it. I had a great week. Kind of. I had a great weekend last weekend because I went to my annual rock festival visit. It's a festival called 2000 Trees, which is really close to my heart. Big love and shout out to anyone who goes to 2000 Trees. I know the organisers quite well and I used to work with them. So Nick and I had a blast, and you know how I was saying, like, taking it easy and slow? Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that whole theory is really not working. I just, when you're just having such a good time, you don't want to go to bed early, and you don't. Yeah, I only see these people once a year, and yeah, we just had a really great time dancing, did a little bit of drinking, not too much, but we had such a great time that by Saturday, I turned around to Nick and I was like, you know what? I'm festivaled out. I'm getting old. I could go home right now. And like our favourite bands and stuff were still playing. So we stayed, but we had like an alcohol-free day and we just chilled. And then I think by like 10 or 11, I was like, I'm going to start saying goodbye so we can leave early tomorrow morning because I am shattered. Um, and then got back to Norwich, had the football final. Um, there's no spoiler here because everyone know England has lost. Nonetheless, we had a lot of fun. So much fun that the following day I was flat on my back again in bed, thinking, oh, you know what? Makes total sense. I've got fatigue. Even had a session with my therapist where I was like, oh, I've got really bad fatigue and really run down, but was like, I'm totally fine with that because I deserve it because I actually did stuff. But it sort of lingered, and then turns out I had COVID. So, right, that's like my own, you mingle with 10,000 people, you are going to catch it. So, but making a good recovery, and also was a little bit sort of like, oh, okay, there's a real reason why I was being all fatigued and sniffly and ill. So it's quite like, I don't know, it's a nice treat not to give myself a hard time and just go, there's a reason.
Totally. And you know what? I always feel like after like a festival or even a concert, I like take the next day off because I know I need it. So for you to be like, oh, can't party as hard as I can, totally get that. Like I'm always ready to be like, oh, it's 8 o'clock. Should we start saying like bye? Like, should we?
Yeah, and
Oh,
I'd booked Monday off, but I hadn't booked the rest of the week off, which then pretty much, I mean, I think by Thursday, Friday, I was kind of compos mentis again, and I just worked all weekend to try and catch up with things. But it's just like, oh man. So I'm now looking forward to the rest of the summer plain sailing. We're going to have a little bit of break of recording. Not listeners, you don't have to get worried because we pre-recorded loads of goodness for you. But I'm off to Switzerland to go and spend time with my family and go and jump in my lake. Whee! And then we'll be back after the summer and we can update you on everything that's happened over this period.
yep. We have been very good with our schedule, so there's not going to be big gaps. We've been very good.
Nope. Absolutely not. We're on it. We are. You know what? A friend of mine has a podcast who's doing rather well, I have to admit. And his co-host, he said something really interesting, and I thought, oh my god, it's so true. He said, like, you need to commit and you need to show up every week because you need to build that trust of your listeners that they will actually get a new episode every week. And I was like, yeah, we're doing that. We're on it. So
You can
very happy
trust.
about
You
that.
can trust us. We're here for you. And when we're not, it's
Indeed.
because we're tired.
And you know what? The best thing is that anyone listening to this will totally get it. And they're like, yeah, me too. Couldn't do
Totally.
it. So, anyhow, on that note, today's episode is a special one because basically it's like a sort of a bit of an interview situation today because we want to explore your radiation experience, Jamie, from start to finish. And you know, the good, the bad, and the very ugly, and the absolute damn right horrid. So I guess in our last episode when we both sat together, we found out that you knew very quickly that you needed radiation. There wasn't a long wait. They told you very quickly. Now, during this time, Young Tongues didn't exist yet, so you didn't have access to the group. There was no one you could really ask. So what were you told what to expect, and how did you mentally and physically prepare yourself, like from healing from quite an invasive surgery to getting yourself ready for radiation?
Well, let's just start with this all. I had my surgery March 2020. So this is all happening at the height of the lockdown and everything here. So this is I think my experience, I don't know any different, but it's very different from what other people I've talked to who went through it before COVID. So I knew early on, even during before surgery, talking to my doctor that, we're probably going to do radiation. Like that's, the only thing they were debating on is like, oh, chemo. We don't know yet till we get in there. So before going into surgery, I was like, okay, I'm going to do radiation, but I didn't really know what that meant. I just knew I'm like, okay, this surgery sounds way harder than radiation. So I'm just going to get through this. So I didn't really listen to anything that they were rattling off about radiation before surgery. So I had my surgery and then I'm home and then they called me and they're like, okay, so this is the plan for radiation. We're going to let you heal a little bit. Then I think I did another scan before that. I did. So they can be like, oh no, you still need more time to heal. So before you go in for radiation, I'm assuming if this wasn't COVID, you would go in, you'd have a group of doctors. They would tell you this is the side effects and they would list off everything. They would say, this is what the agreement I had over the phone. I had this all done over the phone. And mind you, after surgery, your voice talking, it's like marbled words. So I had to have my husband with me and sitting there. We're on speakerphone. He's listening, I'm listening, and they're just rattling off all the side effects of radiation. You're going to do 30 rounds. It's going to be at this level. I don't know what that means, but it's the most that your body can take. So we can only do this one round, or one time around. And, you might not be able to speak. You're going to have sores. You're going to lose hair. And that's like, everything. I was like, what do you mean I'm going to lose hair? I thought chemo, you lose hair. No, radiation to the head and neck, and anywhere where there's hair, you're going to lose it. I'm like, I'm thinking about that now. I'm like, that's so stupid. Why did I care about that? But it's just like something that.
No, it's important. It's part of your identity, so it's really important.
Yeah. So I just remember hearing that, and like I had like a single tear, like Lifetime movie, like tear. I was like, because it's something I think like you can see, like sores. Like I couldn't really open my mouth anyway, so it's like I can't see the sores, all the burning and all that. But the hair thing, I was like, no, chemo, you lose hair. Radiation, you don't. But when I was told that, I was like, whoa. I was not expecting that. So I think for me not to realize that kind of threw me off. And so they rattled off these whole things. They said, first, you have to go to the, I don't even know what they're called. If you're getting head and neck radiation, you have to go see a dentist, but it's a dentist for oral cancer. God, I should really know what they're called because I have not seen that guy in a long time. It was a different dentist.
But
Um,
is it an orthodontist?
Maybe because he's like, that's his specialty, is to treat people
Okay.
who have oral cancer going into radiation, because they have to make sure that there's nothing in there that's gonna, because if you have a cavity or your teeth, or I don't, if you have in my case, my wisdom teeth were impacted. So if I was to go in with impacted wisdom teeth for radiation, it would have broke my jaw. So you
Hmm.
go in and you get seen by this guy, woman, whomever, this specialty dentist. So I'm like, all right, whatever. You need me to go see that guy? I'll go see him. I was like, I'm good. I haven't had any cavities. I'm perfect. Goes in there and he's like, yeah, I see everything's healing up with your tongue. Oh, yeah, you put, and every single doctor I saw, they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, you poor thing. Oh, you've been through so much. And it's like, I can't like talk and like vocalize. It's like when you're at the dentist and they have stuff in your mouth and they're trying to ask you questions and you're like, I couldn't even talk. I was just like, yep. So, what are we doing today? We're going to extract all four of your wisdom teeth. But I just had tongue surgery. Like, I can't even open my mouth. Like, I still am recovering. Yeah, we have to do this now. Okay. Okay. So my dad is in the car. I text him. I was like, gonna be a minute. They're gonna extract four of my wisdom teeth.
Oh my God. And that's not a quick thing to do. I
No.
honestly, I do not understand why they don't just do that when they're operating. So my surgeon, bless him, he was straight away said, "Oh, you know what? We'll remove your wisdom teeth at the same time. We're already in there. Might as well."
Oh,
Just as a yeah, because you know, and the lights are out, and yes, everything is already painful enough. But in the end, he actually only took it out on the one side and not the other. But I guess that if I had radiation, that would have been where it would have been. I don't know if I would have had to take the others out as well.
yeah. I wasn't
But
sure
yeah,
about
I just
either.
like any surgeons listening, like tell us why you don't just take the wisdom teeth out because we don't need them. Taking them out is not going to harm us. In the best case, it means we don't have to go and have a procedure done further down the line.
Yeah, it was very traumatic to be told. Like, I was just gonna go in because, like, when you go and have your consultation with radiation, they explain to you, you're going to do this, then we're going to do this next step, then we do this. So I initially thought I was going to go see this oral dentist, and he was going to give me my trays. So they were like, think of them like mouth guards that like rugby players or wear. Those were the trays they were going to get me fitted for, like an impression that you put on, like a mouth guard, football players, all that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get that. No. So they were like, oh yeah, we got to remove all these. And I was like, wisdom teeth, all four? People are usually out for this, but I have to. So now my mouth is still recovering from the tongue surgery. And he went in there and removed all four of my wisdom teeth. I can't tell you how long it was. I just, I was like, like I felt like paralyzed. I just sat there and I was like, I have to do this in order to do radiation, and I have to do radiation in order to survive. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I trust these people. I trust that this is what I have to get done.
But it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot in the moment too. If you go in thinking you're going to get one thing done and then suddenly
Yeah.
you're not mentally prepared.
No, no, not at all. So I was like, okay. And I don't know how long time has passed, but I stood up and the assistant was like, how are you doing? You okay? I'm like, I want to go home. And she started walking with me, and I was like, I can walk by myself. I'm like texting. She's like, no, you lost a lot of blood. I have to make sure you don't faint on the way to the car. I'm like, okay. So here I am in the car with my dad, all like, I don't even know. I don't know how I got home. Made it home. Obviously, I had to heal on top of everything else. So the wisdom teeth had to heal before I started radiation. The healing took a bit longer they anticipated, so my radiation date got pushed back, which in my mind, I'm like, you told me like we have to start radiation at this time in order for it to be the most effective. And now it's getting pushed back. So now I'm losing. So I'm just spiraling. And to get prepared for radiation, I did meditation, I did Reiki, I did so I could get my mind right. Nothing could prepare you for like when you actually go in there and do it, when things start, when it's like actually happening. I mean,
Mm,
I couldn't meditate. I was in so much pain. Like it hurts your mouth.
mm,
You're constantly thinking you're using your mouth. It's there. Like there's no way to like get your mind off
mm.
of it. It's there.
Yeah. So just before we jump to going in, um, I think you pick on a really important point, and I'm happy if we end up doing this in a two-parter episode because c'est la vie. But I think you really raise a really good point, which I think is hugely underestimated. Which I'm 100% certain that our listeners will see themselves in it. It's so difficult because you are talking to more than one healthcare professional. Quite often, you've got a multidisciplinary team, and they give you a plan, and then that plan changes, and how to cope with that. And I have to admit, Jamie, if I would have been in those shoes and then there's a delay to the treatment, I would have lost my mind. I would have been so scared. And this is a problem that actually a lot of people in the UK, and I'm sure in other regions as well, where there is pressures on the healthcare system, are experiencing delays across the board from surgery to radiation to chemo. And I don't think we talk enough about the impact of making a plan, communicating that, making it, making your point about how important it is that, and what the decisions are. For that then to change is such a head fuck. And there is no one there to help you comprehend and make it okay for yourself. I mean, I know COVID times, so you had limited support, but can you remember like how you felt in that moment?
Yeah, I I felt like I couldn't express myself. Obviously, I was in so much pain. I couldn't talk. I couldn't show like, I don't know, I just felt like a shell of a person. And they stressed so much like we have to start on this day. We have to do it this. We have to, you have to get your trays done. Then we have to get the go in and get the mesh thing, which I'll talk about. Um, and then for them to be like, "Oh, you're still not healed. We're going to push it back." And I was like, "But you told me, like, if I don't start on this day, my number." And that's the thing. I really fixated on the number on my chart. That's like life expectancy. Like you have a 60% chance of this working, or I fixated on that. And I just felt like I felt helpless, especially during COVID. I had to wait on so many things and just being like, for you to tell me this was imperative, and then for you to tell me the next day, "Oh, we're going to have to wait." And then my
Mm,
body wasn't healing. I'm like, you should have anticipated, like, after I got my wisdom teeth out on top of tongue surgery, that I wasn't going to be able to go in on Tuesday. Like, I was really angry. I had a lot of anger issues too. And then I was a shell because I couldn't fully express it. So I felt like everything was just internalized, and I just had to keep it together because I was in too much pain to even like open my mouth or roll my eyes. I mean, probably the most I could do was roll my eyes, but even that was a feat. So
mm,
it's just hard when they tell you one thing and then all of a sudden the plan changes.
mm.
I'm like, I, I can't, I can't
Did
pivot fast enough.
Yeah, did your husband have to do a lot of advocating for you? Like ask like
Absolutely.
or your parents,
My
you know,
husband, yeah, he had to talk. He was on the phone. Yeah, he did everything. And
mm,
I was just, I was sitting, we were on speakerphone and I would sit there and text and like ask
mm,
this. And he would, yeah, it's like, like I couldn't text fast enough sometimes. And then sometimes you often get off the phone or you walk out of the visit and you're like, oh, I should have asked him that. Like that's what
mm.
so
But it must be so difficult to self advocate when you're so vulnerable
Yeah.
and so, almost not being able to communicate and at the mercy of what is happening, and you're sort of in this tumble dryer of emotion and circumstances. And we talk a lot about self advocating and how important that is. But one of our biggest tools to self advocate, aka to communicate, is taken away. So my heart always goes out to anyone who's trying to get through this alone. And I'm just
And
always, when we have someone who says, I don't have family, or, I'm single, or you need a mate. You need someone
yes.
who's going to fight for you and push back and ask questions and say, but why? And is there another way?
Yeah.
Just to make sure there's that level of accountability that in the end you can look back and say, okay, I had all the options. I knew all the details.
Yeah, in a way, like it's your voice, like that. There, you have to have complete trust in someone to be your voice. You don't have
Mm.
one at the moment, but that doesn't mean you're not going to be heard. You need to have the trust in someone that will be there for you. Super important. I mean, there has to be somebody for you that can speak for you in this time. And then you'll have your time to speak later, but you have to have the trust. And
Now, I have a question. You mentioned the trays. So eventually the healing went down. They did those trays. You compared it to like mouth guards in rugby or boxing.
yeah.
What are they for?
So after I healed up from the wisdom teeth, they put the trays, you do the impression to get the trays. And yeah, they're exactly like a mouth guard because when you go in for radiation, they want your mouth to sit in the same position every single time. So it's hitting the same spot. So they get the mouth trays in. Some people have like a mouth tray with like a tongue depressor like sticking through and they just whoop. I had two separate ones for top and bottom. And then I also went in to get this mesh face wrap that you'll get. And that's also to make sure that you are in the same position every single time you get up and lay down on that radiation table. So after I got my mouth trays, I went in I went actually into radiation and I met all the therapists there. There were four of them and they were like, okay, this is what we're going to do. You're going to lay down here. We're going to stretch this. It was like a green mesh. We're going to stretch this. I actually have it still. I'll post a picture. This green mesh.
I was going to say, so I was going to say it's a radiation mask, and I was going to just writing down notes. I will include links in the show notes for both mouth trays. So hopefully I'll find a website which has lots of different ones,
Oh yeah.
and also to the radiation mask, so people can have a look what that looks like if they are not familiar with it.
I bet a lot of young tongue listeners or people on Instagram, like they can show us all theirs because they all look quite different actually. Mine, some include like the shoulders. Mine was just my head up to my neck. They didn't do my shoulders. But so they lay you down and they put like, it's kind of like a moist, like mesh thing pulled over you and it like forms to your face. I was just thinking, I'm like, okay, this is my new prosthetic. This is a new horror film I'm going to be in and I'm the monster. And they're just so, I was like, and you can't breathe for like take a deep breath. Now hold your breath for like, I don't know how long it was. It wasn't too long, but it just sits there and molds to your face. So it's like wet and then it like hardens and then they take it off. And I think I did mine twice because the first one I think I was breathing or blinking or something. So they did it again, but they get the tray. It's kind of cool. So after that, and so you have to put the mouth guards in when they make the mold so they know exactly. And then they have your tray and they go, okay, you're set for May 18th at this time. You're going to go to this room. And so you know your time and that'll be the start. And you go Monday through Friday and you do 30 sessions. And I go, okay. And then I went home.
So before we, sorry, I keep stopping because I've got questions, and I
I love
hope
it. I
you
love
don't
it.
mind. So yeah. So what I sort of picked up from you telling the story And I find it really interesting is you're telling it in quite a positive way, as in like this is quite exciting and funny and fun. And I wondered, what were the people like in the room? Like, did they help you make it a better experience? Because to be honest with you, laying down on a table, having something put over me that then strapped me down, I would feel that might be quite scary and quite claustrophobic. So how I'm really curious how your experience is like, because you're smiling away like.
They were really okay. So it wasn't what I was expecting because they were the opposite of the dentist I had been seeing. They were young, probably younger than me, and one guy was cute, and the one that was doing my mesh, he had like kind of like a
Of course he was cute, Jamie.
he had like Harry style hair a little bit, and just like very, and I was like, okay. So they were all very upbeat and very like they weren't serious, so they made me feel very much at ease, which yeah, it helped a lot, which is why like, and then I also take myself into like a scenario where I'm like, oh, this is like a horror movie. I know I'm very much like morbid humor, so I think of it like this is a part of the story. This is like I'm watching my life as a movie to kind of cope with it. But I remember just trying, and it was also hard because they would talk to me like, "Hey, how's your day going?" And I'm like, they're not going to know me at all. My personality, I'm just going to be like, yeah.
For anyone listening, Jamie was nodding her head
Yeah,
and
sorry.
smiling.
Like, And it's like, hey, how's your day going? I couldn't even answer that. I'm like, well, I'm here. How do you think it's
Yeah.
going? You know? So, another thing about the mask, look, I have my diary, dear diary. I wrote in here, they put this is also something really interesting. After you get your mask done, they tattoo you. And they tattoo you because they want it to line up with you every time. So I have my tattoo still. It's right there. That's not a freckle. It's like a dark.
So again, for the listeners, Jamie is
I just
pointing
pulled my
between her
shirt
boobs.
down.
There's a very cute little freckle just in between on her, just below her collarbone, shall we say?
Yeah. So, and it was with a very big needle. It wasn't like at the tattoo parlor where it's like a tiny one. This was like a boom.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So right into my chest. And so I'm like, are you sure you got the right spot? Like that's something interesting. So they do tattoo you. I don't know if that's true for every radiation experience, but so they get the mesh on you and they put a tattoo marker. And they also will mark so they'll keep the mesh of your head there the whole time, and they mark that. So they showed me this is the point of entry and this is the point of exit for radiation. So that's probably why I had all 4 wisdom teeth taken out, because the exit, it was in the path of it. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and I just mentally noting, I will forget about it, but one day we will have a radiographer on, or I assume it would be a radiographer who decides where
Yeah.
to radiate, because when as far as I'm aware from all the literature I've read, and it's way too much, but it's like we're not radiating the entire face, we're not radiating the entire mouth. It is pinpointed at certain areas, which are, I guess, things that pop up on a scan. I don't know what type of scan. But yeah, so that'd be really interesting to find out, like, how do they make those decisions of where to exactly place the laser? It is laser, isn't it? The beam, the radiation beam.
Yeah. The beam. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think, I don't know. Yeah, it has to be the rays of radiation. Okay, so let's go to my first day. I check in, and our radiation, they just built this new radiation building at the hospital. It's off by itself in a separate wing. It looks like a spa. They have spa music playing. There's a room for each machine, and they all have different names like Serenity Bay or Quiet Cove. And there's like bamboo painted on the walls, and the sky looks like twilight stars in there to give you which I appreciate. I guess it's not stark white
Yeah,
walls.
absolutely. And I'm laughing away here because I find it kind of comedial, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure we don't have that level in the UK in the NHS. So I think, or maybe we do. I don't know, but I think I would appreciate it as well because it doesn't feel too hospitally.
No, it's like you're going in for a spa treatment, which is what they wanted. A spa treatment. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get like microneedling done. Have I it made me think about it instead of me thinking I'm gonna go and get radiation. So I was walking through like this tunnel to go to my room. They're like, "You're in Quiet Cove." I'm like, nice. Like Quiet Cove. That was my first room. So you go into the room and there's like a little, think of it like a recording booth. There's the little booth where the radiologists sit and they control everything. And then they open these big magnetic or steel doors because they have to separate themselves from the radiation. And it's like a, like on a, like an airtight door almost. It's like a big, I don't know, think like a submarine type door. That's what in my brain. And then you go in, and the room is, again, then there's stars, there's bamboo, and then there's the giant machine. And it's freezing cold in there because they have to keep it super cold for the machine. And they have like a little sink area that you go to, and they go, okay, so put your stuff here and put your trays in, and then you're going to lay on the table and they do the rest. So I had a little container with my trays. That was the thing I would take every day. I had to bring those with me. I'd rinse them off in the sink. I'd put them in. I'd turn around and they'd be waiting. Two people always waiting at the table. I'd be like, ready to go. And then they position you on this table. It's a steel table. There's no cushion. They put like the little thing under your knees, like the little hill thing. And then,
Yeah, little like a little pillowy type,
yeah,
but more like a foam type thing.
yeah, exactly, like the foam thing, like, and then you don't lay your head on a cushion or anything. It's just like a steel headpiece, and there's two blocks on the sides of you, and then they position your body where they want you based on your tattoo, and then they put the mask on top of you, and there are bolts on the mask. There's a couple, and you could hear them click them in, and you are in. You are ready for the ride. You're ready for the experience. And the first time I was like, okay, and there's music playing. And so they try to overpower. The machine is loud, like I, like a machine. I can't even. If you've done radiation, you know how loud it is. But they also play music to drown it out. And I just remember the very first song for very first radiation ever was Frank Sinatra. That's life. That's life. I'm like, oh my God.
It is comical, those things, isn't it? You're like, oh, really?
I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
that's pretty much it. So here you are, you can't move. And the mask is so tight on your face, you have to keep your eyes closed. So that's kind of nice. But also trying to keep your mouth in the same position with the mouth guards with the mask smushed on you. And all the noise is going on your brain, and they don't tell you how long it is. They're like, okay, we're gonna between 10 and 15 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay, I can't, but I feel like sometimes it was longer because something would happen with the machine and you'd be in there longer. But they also could communicate with you through the speaker in there. But
not that you could communicate back other than
no,
thumbs up and thumbs down.
nope, you just have to wait for someone to come in and literally unstrap you. What if there was an earthquake? What if a fire? Because it takes a while for those doors to open. I don't know. I didn't think about that, I guess, but
I'm sure they've got a process for that. Anyhow, let's get back strapped. Let's not make this any worse. And so you're strapped in, and they say it can be anything between 10 and 15 minutes. It's a bit
Mhm.
vague.
Yep.
They've got music playing. You're
Got
listening to
music.
Frank Sinatra.
Mhm.
So this is the first session. So this is the question regarding the first session. Does that hurt?
No, not at all. I was like, "Oh, that's it? Didn't hurt. Nope." And then,
Cool.
yeah, they just come in, they go, "Okay, round or session 1 done, first one done." And, they're young, they're optimistic, they make it like, "Okay, cool." Um, and then I
And
just
at this point, we're going to pause and we're going to continue the radiation chat on the next episode.
yes.
Yeah. Which, if Jamie has time, will record with me right after this one, if not later.
Yes.
But
Yes, yes, yes.
but no, so you finished session 1. Let's just finish off that day. So you're sort of like, oh,
Um,
okay, this is it, and then
yeah.
you go home and
Yeah, I felt fine. I didn't feel any different from before I got there. No side effects yet, but I was told the side effects won't hit until like the 2-week mark. So I went home. I think emotionally, the buildup, I remember I cried in the car because I was like, oh my God, I just did radiation, my first radiation. And then like just the buildup up to the first one, I was emotional and I cried in the car. And then I was able to drive home. Yeah, and then I was like, okay, we'll do it again tomorrow. And I think it's just I cried from the buildup, and then I cried in anticipation of I know that it's just going to get worse.
Well, it must be so difficult because you have no idea what you're in for. Like they can explain stuff to you, but unless you've been able to have a chat with someone who's actually been through it, you don't really know.
Yeah.
Or have a listen to a podcast like this where you tell your story. So that's great. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for reopening that chapter and going down memory lane for us. I really appreciate it, and I know all our listeners really appreciate it. And anyone who is at this moment in time preparing for their first course of radiation, you now know what to expect. And for anyone who's waiting for surgery or just been newly diagnosed, hopefully you'll never have to come here because you'll just have to have the surgery. And if you do, you'll be fine. Jamie's been through it. Many other people have been through it.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it.
Absolutely.
Right. Shall we go to our question of the week, our listener question?
Yes.
Which I've picked up today. We had one of our listeners, patients, was asking, when did you start regaining feeling in areas that were operated on? For example, inside your mouth, does the flap regain any feeling? Question mark. Your face, your lips, neck, arm, legs, etc. There's many sites that we've get operated on, isn't it?
God. Sometimes I forget about the leg. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I forget about that. I forget the leg until I put a bikini on because that square never tans, and I'm like, oh yeah, you.
Yep.
So yeah, if we start from the bottom up, the leg, I never lost any feeling. It was just the top layer of skin for the skin graft, so that took a while to heal. But actually looks great, other than it's a different skin color to the rest of my skin color, but it really doesn't bother me.
I can feel my leg, so mine's good.
Yes, good. Yep.
Yeah.
What about the arm? What was the arm like
I didn't
for you?
have my arm. I only had the leg.
Oh yeah, of course. So you had a big one from the leg.
Mm-hmm. I have 2 big grafts on my leg, so it looks like a 1, 2.
Yeah. So I only have a tiny sort of like a square. The arm, okay. The arm is a ball ache. So 5 years on, I am still don't have full feeling in my arm, specifically in my thumb and along my forearm going up to the elbow, along the scar line on the left hand side. And weirdly enough, there are areas on my arm. I'm showing to the camera, but for those that are listening, if I go along my scar, up my arm, and I press in certain places, it actually feels like I'm pinching a different part of my hand. So obviously there is some sort of nerve damage happening there. And I also had a complication with my graft on my wrist because only half of it took. So one half of the graft is nice and soft and flexible, and the other graft basically healed without skin. So it's hard and it doesn't move, which is why I've got the reduced movement. However, I know many, many other people that have had the same thing on their arm and are totally fine, have full movement, have full feeling. I'm just a little bit unlucky. And I think the fact my body produces a lot of scar tissue probably has something to do with that. Now let's talk about the neck. Jamie, neck. What was the neck like for you?
I have no feeling in my neck. From the ear down, I still don't have feeling. Um, I mean, it is what it is, but it doesn't bother me. Only at night, I get like the weird tingly, like I feel like my nerves are still trying to like wake up. But they said at this point, if I don't have it, I'm not going to regain it. So yeah, I don't feel anything where my site was, where my surgery
I
was.
do. I do, or I should say, I did occasionally, because now that I've come to think about it, it's a long time since the last time I had it. But I sometimes underneath my chin would get like a cramp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like randomly be watching TV, yawn, and then cramp, or
Oh, the
I don't know.
yawning.
There was no right rhyme or reason why it would cramp. It would just reach a cramp, and I would quite often make quite a loud sound, but it'd be over as quick as it started. But touching wood now, I have to admit, I don't think I've had it for a couple of years. So that's one of those things that has gradually disappeared. So yeah, I also, so I have feeling in my neck, anything below the scar. Above it's I have feeling it just feels a bit different, as in like sometimes, I mean, because I sport this amazing lady beard. Thankfully, you can't see it on camera here. I'm going for a wax on Wednesday, so it's at full length. But there's an area here which has actually gone the other way. Suddenly becomes super sensitive. So when I have the wax on this like 3 centimeter strip, I'm just like, okay, do it quick. Yeah, but that, other than that, that has actually, the feeling here has come back, and it also going up to my lip. So this part I couldn't feel for a long time. It was a real problem when kissing and like, or also dropping food. I cannot. I, I'm wearing white right now, but there's stripes and there's so many like horrible things on this t-shirt. But in general, I don't buy anything light anymore, because at one point I will dribble either a drink or food or sauce or something down, because something with this lip just isn't quite working anymore. But the feeling is it's kind of there. It's like, it's not perfect, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, the food thing with the lip, like you forget about it, but I drool a lot. Even like I feel like it pulls up there because I don't feel it pulling up. So I'll be talking and be like, like a long,
Yeah.
it's so embarrassing. But
I, oh, oh, it so is, and it's always. Oh, not always, but I remember. I remember being on a date with my husband and us trying, like, flirting. We don't, we've been married. We've been together for a long time. We've been married. We don't flirt that often, very much anymore. And I just this one time was flirting with him, and literally he was like, "Honey, I love you, but you're drooling and you've got like stains on your shirt," and I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, it just no sexiness. Takes a real effort, and you have to check everything beforehand.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I guess going inside the mouth, and I think this is a really interesting question with regards to the flap, because there's been many debates on the Facebook group whether you can get feeling back in your flap or not. And we've had some people say, oh, my surgeon said that, over time, nerve endings will creep back in, so you'll be able to feel something. Other people have said, no, my surgeon said that's going to be lame forever. There's no way you could ever feel anything. We have some people that are saying, I can definitely feel it because I get pain in it. Or when I bite it, it hurts. And then others going, no, there's definitely not. So I'm sorry to the person who asked the question. I don't actually have an answer. I reckon a lot of people who say they get pain in it from biting on it is, although it is lame, you can still hear what's going on in your mouth. So I think it's more of a cognitive reaction to the fact that you've bitten on your flap than anything else. And I'm going to put this out there. Accidentally biting your flap whilst eating lettuce or salads is one of the worst things. I mean, it grosses me out and every time it happens, I just want to cry. Not because it hurts. And sorry, I'm giving Jamie PTSD here, but I just need to put it out there. If you accidentally bite your flap and you feel like you want to cry, that is totally valid.
Yeah.
It's not the pain, it's the stuff that goes on in your head. And it's so screwed up. Like you got something, a part of your body that's there and kind of not there.
Yeah, I don't think I can feel anything because I can't chew on that side. I only chew on my right side because I can't manipulate it. I can't move food. So when I have bitten on it, yeah, it's gonna look like I bit my tongue, yeah, it's painful. But you learn to chew on one side or the other, and it helps. So yeah, that's weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't stick my finger on there or my toothbrush on there to feel like I can't move it that way. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe.
yeah, because it's one of parts of your body that, like, if you can't test it. You can't I'm just going to put my hand there and look away and then see if you touched it or not, because I think it's so closely attached to everything else. But yeah, the like 5 years out, I will forget and I will accidentally catch my flap, and I also eat on the other side of the mouth, and it's the sound. It's just like, oh no, and makes me feel all squeamish. And quite often I'm like, yeah, not hungry anymore. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Same.
And I will probably go into a corner somewhere and have a massive hissy fit because I'm really annoyed and really angry and all grossed out. And then about half an hour later go, oh, I'm actually hungry. I'm going to continue eating this delicious thing. So, yeah, totally normal. But yeah, we can't give a total answer in terms, do you ever regain some sort of feeling in your flap or not? Maybe we will have to get a physician on to explain that one.
Yeah.
Max Fax surgeon or someone. Right. So, Jamie, thank you so much again for today. I also want to say thank you so much to everyone listening. We appreciate having you. We wouldn't have this podcast without you. So all your contributions and listens mean an awful lot. The next episode, due next Friday, is another exciting one. Jamie, do you want to tell us all about it?
What is the next one?
The one that you recorded the other day.
Brain fog. Yes. This is real life, people. I had a lovely interview with near and dear to my heart, Steph. I know a lot of young tongues already know who she is. She was the one person I found on the internet that looked like me, my age, that went through this, and her pictures terrified me. So I was like, can I ask you a couple questions? And she was there for me, and she tells her whole story, and it's so lovely. She is a mom she went through this at a similar age, and it's just for us to have the similarities, some that I didn't even know about before. It really was. It was very therapeutic for both of us to sit down and hear, actually hear her whole story chronologically, instead of me just
Absolutely,
going,
yeah.
"Did it hurt? What did I do? Why does your neck look like that?"
Amazing.
I'm excited to
I can't
share.
wait. I can't wait. I will be listening in. I love Steph. Well, it was you and Steph that I found at the same time. So one day we'll have to get the party together and get the three of us together on an episode
Oh my
to
God.
just chat.
Yes.
But oh my God. No, very much looking forward to that. In that case, thank you so much, everyone. Don't forget, give us a good review. We don't care about the bad ones. just 5 stars, please.
Yes. Be
And
nice.
make sure you follow and subscribe on our social media, which is Young Tongues Global. And if you want to come and tell your story on our podcast, or know someone that we should get on the podcast who is a specialist of some kind and we should ask them lots of questions, email us on podcast@youngtonguesglobal.com.
Thank you
Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.